Hi, Geometry. This is some notes that's on the fourth page of our angle homework worksheets. So on this page, I would like to talk about two different things. The first one being a circumcenter of a triangle. So what is a circumcenter? Well, a circumcenter is the point that is equidistant to all three vertices of a triangle. It's also, a circumcenter is also the intersection of the three perpendicular bisectors of the triangle sides. However, when you and I construct a circumcenter, we're not going to do three perpendicular bisectors. We're just going to do two. You have to do two perpendicular bisectors. If you want to do the third one as a good double check, of course you can. So I've got three triangles on our notes here. The first triangle is an acute triangle. If you remember, those are triangles without any 90-degree angles. All three angles are less than 90. The second triangle, scooted over here on the right a little bit, is an obtuse triangle. And the third triangle down here is a right triangle. So let's talk about constructing the circumcenter. So we are going to do a construction here. And our construction will be the circumcenter of a triangle. We're going to do that by doing two perpendicular bisectors. So let's label this triangle A, B, C. There are three sides on this triangle. We have side AB over here, we have this side CB at the bottom, and we have this side AC. So you need to pick one. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to start with BC or CB, however you want to label it. I'm going to bisect this. That means I'm trying to construct the line that goes through the exact middle of BC and is perpendicular to it. So if you remember, that was construction number 1 from the very first week of school. That's written, the steps are written on page 17 of our workbook. But we are going to set our compass to the length of our segment BC. And after I do that, I'm going to do a big arc at B. And you could do the whole circle if you want, but I definitely need this big arc at B. And then I also need a big arc at C, the other end of the segment. So I'm going to flip my needle around, my pointer around. I'm going to do a big arc at C. So my two arcs have intersected in two places, one at the top and one at the bottom. I'm going to now connect these two intersection points with this pink pen. And when I do that, this pink line is a perpendicular bisector. It is perpendicular to BC and it bisects, meaning that this point right here is the midpoint. So I'm going to put two tick marks to show it that both sides are equal. So now this is just part of my work. I've done one of my two perpendicular bisectors. I now either have to bisect AB or I have to bisect AC. It doesn't really matter which one. I think I'm going to bisect AB just because it's shorter. I can make my compass smaller. So I'm going to tilt my page a little bit so that I like to look at it a little more horizontal when I do this. So I'm going to bisect from A to B. So in my mind, I'm getting rid of everything else on my paper. And I just see this segment from A to B. I'm ignoring my pink line. I'm ignoring my arc marks. I just want to draw the line that's perpendicular to AB as well as goes through the center. So let's set our compass to something more than halfway. Actually, it's turned kind of funny in this ink there. So let's set our compass to the endpoints of my segment or anything more than halfway. And now I'm going to draw a big arc. I'm going to press down and try to make this arc maybe a little bit darker. Maybe that'll help it stand out to me so I don't get it mixed with all the other stuff already on my paper. And then I'm going to flip it around to A, and I'm going to do that exact same arc. Again, like I said before, kind of making it a little bit darker so it'll stand out to me. I'm ignoring everything else on my paper, and I'm finding the two intersection points of this darker arc where they intersect, and I'm going to connect them. So this green line is the perpendicular bisector of AB. So it's perpendicular to my AB, and it splits AB in half. So at this point, I've done, my third bullet here says to do two perpendicular bisectors. I now have my circumcenter on my paper. It is the intersection of the three, but in this case two, perpendicular bisectors. So this point right here, where my pink line and green line intersect, this is my circumcenter. This point right here is my circumcenter, and it's equidistant. It's the point that's equidistant to all three vertices. So I'm going to draw on my paper, but I'd like you guys not to draw this on yours. It'll get kind of messy. But I want to show you so you can kind of see how this point is equidistant to the three vertices. So I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to connect A to this circumcenter. I'm going to connect C to this circumcenter. And I'm going to connect B to the circumcenter. As you look at my three yellow highlighted segments, they all do appear to be pretty close in length. They all appear to be about the same size. And if I go check it out with my compass, if I make my compass kind of smaller, I notice that the size of this distance is approximately the same as this distance, which is approximately the same as this distance. Because my circumcenter should be the one point that is equidistant to all three vertices. Can I do the third perpendicular bisector? Sure. But you're going to find when you do it, it's going to go through the exact same point that I just found. It's a great double check on a test. So these next two are already done and are, first of all, going back, I want you to notice the circumcenter is inside my triangle. Anytime you find the circumcenter of an acute triangle, it's inside. So I'd like you to now do the same thing on your own time for the obtuse triangle. My answer key, my solution, is on the Unit 1, Lesson 19, Lesson 20 worksheet, answer key. If you just go to the fourth page, all my notes are filled in. You should find your circumcenter is somewhere right about out here. It's going to be outside the triangle because it's obtuse. Anytime you have an obtuse triangle, you should find it outside. I want you to know what that seems like, what it feels like, so that if it shows up on another worksheet, you're not confused by it not being on the inside, like in an acute triangle. And then when you do the right triangle, you should also find that the circumcenter is ending up somewhere specific. So try it, see where you get it to be at. It's not going to be inside. It won't be outside. See where it's at and double check it on the filled in notes in our folder on the lesson 19 and 20 worksheet. So let's jump down and next talk about an incenter. So an incenter is another type of center in our triangle, but it's a little different because an incenter is the point equidistant to the sides, not the vertices, but it's going to be equal distance to the sides. And we're going to talk about this more in Unit 7. Today, we're just learning how to construct them. We're going to thoroughly study our centers when we get to Unit 7. So this is not the intersection of the perpendicular bisectors. An incenter is the intersection of the angle bisectors. of the 3 angles of my triangle. And again, you don't have to construct all 3 unless you want to. It's a good double check. I need to see 2 angle bisectors to be able to grade this. So I have one acute triangle and one right triangle. Let's work on the acute one together. I have 3 angles here. I've got A, B, and C. And I want to bisect my angle. That's when I split my angle in half. I want to do my angle bisector. You'll find that was construction number 6 on page 30 of our workbook. So let's do B first. My first step for an angle bisector is to draw an arc through my angle. I'm going to set my compass to something smaller so I don't have lines all over the place. Something smaller, and I'm going to arc through my, again, these steps are on page 30 of our workbook. I'm going to arc through my angle, and I do this to get my 2 intersection points, so right here and right here. Once we get our intersection points, we're going to now do an arc from each one. So I'm going to put my needle here, and I'm going to do an arc from my first intersection point, and I'm going to flip it to the other side, and I'm going to do another arc from that intersection point. And those arcs are going to intersect out here. Where they intersect and the vertex of my angle, which in this case is B, is my angle bisector. So let's draw that in. So this green line is the angle bisector of B, meaning that it splits B in half. I don't know the actual measure of B, but I've now split that angle in half. That is one of my angle bisectors. So let's do another one. I'm going to do C next. Again, set your compass to anything that's easy to work with. I recommend something smaller so your arcs aren't really on top of each other. And step 1 from page 30 is we're going to draw, whoops, lost my needle there. We're going to draw through the angle. If you have any trouble doing this on your worksheet, you might put it on top of other papers. I find that very helpful myself. Should have had a stack of papers underneath this. So I'm going to draw my arc through my triangle. Okay, I think I'm going to take a moment. I'm not sure how to pause the video here at school on this, but I'm just going to stick a few pages underneath here. Okay, great. Now I have something I can dig into, and I can draw my arc much better. There we go. There we go. Sorry, a little moment there. And I have my 2 intersection points, and I'm now going to draw an arc at each one. So I'm going to press down on my intersection point. I'm going to draw an arc. I'm going to flip over to my other intersection point. I'm going to draw an arc, and my arcs intersect. Where my arcs intersect and my angle vertex, which is C, that's my angle bisector. So this blue line is my angle bisector of C. It's splitting C in half. So I'm not sure what the measure is, but I know I've just split it in half. So I've done 2 of my angle bisectors. You could do a third one if you want, but I've just found my incenter. The incenter is the intersection of the angle bisectors of the 3 angles of the triangle. So this is my intersection. I've only done 2 of them, but I found my intersection. Put a big dot there, and this is my incenter. And your incenter is always going to be inside your triangle. It actually doesn't matter whether it's acute, obtuse, or right. It's always going to be on the inside of my triangle. You'll see when we get to unit 7, that's because it's also the center of my inscribed circle. So that's a lesson for another day. What I want you to be able to do is to be able to do a construction of the incenter. So this gives you another chance to practice it. Please check with the answer key. You should have a point exactly where my point is. You should find the same incenter. If you have any trouble, bring it to office hours and we'll check it out. but it should be inside this right triangle. Thank you so much.